So get this. A few days ago, I was sitting in a cab and the driver was this blonde guy. And as soon as I sit in, he's like, I remember seeing you last week at this shawarma place. You were with a female. And I was like, oh, well, hi. And he's like, hello. And he was just talking and he's like we were just talking about the usual what a cab driver usually talks about just to have a conversation. He's like, what do you do for a living? And I said, I'm a psychologist. And he's like, psychology is very important for everyone. It's important for everything, really. And I was saying yes, of course. And everybody kind of knows each other in Gyumri, so. And then he was telling me how a few years ago he went through something so major that he goes, no amount of medicine or drugs was helping me. So he goes, I just woke up one day and I told myself enough is enough. And I said, yeah, a huge part of that is mind over everything, where you just tell yourself you're going to be strong, you're going to work this out, you're going to make this work, and your mind will believe you one step at a time every day. And it helps prevent a lot of other issues from occurring, or for your mind to develop a very deeper level of depression or other things that can come with it. But on that note, he was just like, so in Gyumri there's an issue, or in Armenia there's an issue that people assume that, if you go to a psychologist, that means you're sick and there's something severely wrong with you. And I kind of giggled, because it's true, they do believe. And that goes on to say that, majority of Armenians in general, they have this ingrained in their mind. It's not even just in Armenia, where if someone is seeing a psychologist, it means they're mentally ill. But then I told him, I'm like, yeah, but then I said, if you walk into a clinic, a hospital, or even the doctor's office here in Armenia, especially in Gyumri, the nurses and all the doctors, they all scream it out loud. It's not like they hide it, and they say, Ster dasahat hivantnerunenk, which basically translates to, we have 10 or 30 or however amount of people who are all sick over here. And I'm like, these people are coming in, kids, old, elderly, all they have is a cold, and they're labeling them as sick. So what's the difference? Wouldn't you want to go to a psychologist? Yeah, so basically, whoever walks into the doctor's office or a clinic is labeled as sick anyways. And I told him that, and he's laughing hysterically, and he's like, that's true, it's right, that's how they act, that's how they talk here. So I'm like, in reality then, there shouldn't be an issue in regards to the fear that you're going to be labeled mentally unstable. But realistically, as a complete nation and a group of people, Armenians, by far, a lot of them do have mental issues. This is not to hurt anyone or to put people down or a group of people. I'm being serious. The amount of population and the fact that they want to admit that there is nothing wrong with them when there's too many things off, it is a collective issue. And then they blame it on the culture, and that's another issue, because it's got nothing to do with the culture. I remember the morning I was taking a cab to go to the Zvatnots airport in Yerevan to go to Jordan that morning. It was 7 a.m. So it takes 2 hours to go from Gyumri to Yerevan. I live in Gyumri. And the 2-hour cab drive that I was in to go to the airport, the cab driver happened to be my neighbor, lives in the same building as me. Young guy, younger than me, just discussing things. And he knew I was a psychologist and everything. And, the neighbors, they all know each other. And he was saying how, you're a psychologist, so there's nothing I need to hide from you. And he's like, the youth, especially the men, they do not know how to treat women here. Just him on his own. He's just saying it. I was half asleep anyways. And he goes, I'm practicing like how to speak and how to respect a woman by having this conversation with you. And he's like, yeah, the youth, the men, he's like, they're so like, they just don't know how to treat women. They don't know how to talk to women. This is a major social issue. And so he's like, this is me trying to practice right now. He goes, it's so very difficult for guys to get married here. And if they do, they have to marry based off what the parents feel. They're not in love with the girl, or the girl doesn't know. She says, you know, I have these expectations, or, you know, they're not in love and they just don't know how to talk to women. And he's like, the youth, they're all on drugs. All the guys are all on drugs. All of them. And that was pretty amazing, because he was that one rare guy who admitted it. I mean, there's another person I know, Nadig, who admits that to me too. I don't ask questions. They tell me on their own, okay? And he goes, this is a huge major issue, because... And I'm not talking about drugs that the doctor or the psychologist prescribes. I'm talking about actual drugs that they just all give each other to mute their pain and escape, because there's no way to cope with their feelings or what's going on with their life, or boredom or whatever. Homosexuality is practiced here highly, very much covered up, but it's highly practiced. And that's it. And it's just sad. It's sad. I can't do anything about it, but it's sad. And you know, I've always said drugs and prostitution is one of the biggest no-nos of my life. I don't associate with people that way. You know, doesn't mean I'm going to degrade people who are, you know, doing these things, but just keep it at a length distance. You know what I'm saying? Not my type of people, never will be, no. So for me, it's like, you know, it's interesting because actually in Armenia, the men are all on drugs, the youth are all on drugs, especially the guys. And then a lot of the females from the Soviet times, okay, and after the Soviet times with the war in the 90s, a lot of the females that are successful in this country, or revered and respected, are the prostitutes. Okay, and it's unfortunate in a sense that unless the woman is not getting credit for, you know, her intelligence or what she's actually accomplishing, she's only getting credit for her being a prostitute. And that's obviously kept hidden, but everybody kind of knows. And because with me in my situation, I wasn't having sex with anyone or sleeping with anyone, where people started to go against me, especially the men, and label me as a slut years back, and it wasn't working, because it wasn't working. And so I don't feel like these are my people. So ethnically I'm Armenian. I've been brought up to feel, and it comes within, you know, a certain pride or something pulled towards my heritage, you know, the culture, you know, a certain duty to give back to my nation and the people part of the nation, which I've spent years of my life, decades of my life doing in many different forms and fashions, even outside of the country. But realistically, to form friendships and relationships with these groups of people, it's very rare for me, because number one, I'm someone that can't easily be friends with someone due to many circumstances and many reasons. I have very high standards when it comes to personal friendships and relationships, and I stick to those. And I'm very highly against people who say that they do something or are a certain way, but they're the opposite and hide that. All right, so continuation of what I was saying a little earlier. I just had a client call. So yeah, continuation of what I was saying is that how we'll go back to Dilijan. So when I was in Dilijan the last time and I made that YouTube channel, the video that I put on my YouTube channel, where I was like, Jordan fucked me up, in a sense that nothing is the same since then. Like, that's just the place that I'm being called to go and stay. Jordan. And just after I made that video and uploaded it on my channel, I decided to go out to a coffee shop in the center of Dilijan. And there was a young girl, two young girls working there. One of them, she just every second kept coming up to me and smiling at me. like every other second. And it was like she was trying to, have conversation with me. That was the intention. So yeah, I was saying how about the girl at Dilijan. And then she just started having conversation with me, and then literally she ended up sitting next to me for 4 to 5 hours. I was gonna leave to go home, but she literally sat down next to me for 5 hours straight, and the other workers were like coming in, the owner, and like just looking at us. But she came out and she's like, when I first saw you and I laid my eyes on you, she's like, I was so mesmerized with what's in your eyes. And she's like, she just kept saying in Armenian, I'm so proud to have met someone like you, because when I look into your eyes, when I look at your eyes, I can tell your soul is just so rich, and like you're not like most people, like your spirit is rich, you're full of like so much more, than what meets the eye, and you're just a very caring and loving person. And it's interesting because actually when I was the last time I was at the Indian shop too, there's an older lady. She's like, oh my God, the second I saw your eyes, what's in your eyes and your smile, I knew that this is an amazing and great person. And she goes up to Nawab, the owner of the Indian shop. She's like, isn't she such a beautiful soul? She's such a good soul. And I'm like, yeah, he knows I'm a good soul. Don't worry, like, stop praising me. And she's like walking up to the cab and helping me out. I'm like, that's fine, please, thank you. But anyways, going back to the girl in Dilijan, we were talking about like a lot of stuff from, what goes down in Armenia, the hidden stuff, from religion to culture, a lot of things. And then there was this one guy, older man, from Australia. His mother's Australian and his father is Lebanese Armenian. And we were just talking. Like, we're just sitting there for hours talking. And so she was asking me, like, if you weren't Armenian. Anyways, yeah, so she's like, if you weren't Armenian, if you weren't ethnically Armenian and you came to Armenia and you were looking around, what would you say? And she said it could be good or bad or neutral. What would you say that you would notice and that you would want to shift and to change for the better as a collective for Armenians? And I said, to be honest with you, the very first thing I notice is when you travel the world and you are, around different cultures, in each nation, in each group, in each community, there's always groups of people who are very proud of their ethnicity, proud of their culture, proud of their nation, and they support each other and they back each other up based off of that. In Armenia, that's very rare to find, and it's very shameful. Because, so being patriotic is very normal. Every country, every community has its own groups of people who are patriotic. It's normal. It's part of, every nation. But in Armenia, it's very rare. And because it's rare, it can feel very embarrassing. So I'm like, that's what I would, I noticed that as an Armenian. It's sad that an Armenian will sell out another Armenian for $1. And a lot of them play it off like they are proud people or pretend. And these are touchy subjects, but it's very real. It's very real that they're proud in a sense where if you talk about it, they're like, yeah, I'm proud to be Armenian, but there's no action behind it. Do you know what I'm saying? None. So anyways, when we were in Jordan, that girl Christina, she kept telling everyone, all the Bedouins and all the Arabs, that like, she's the group leader. And he was in a state of shock because he's like, this is how a leader acts? I said, oh honey, she's no fucking leader. No leadership skills, no nothing skills. And just showing how much she loves money to everyone. And it's like, people are noticing. Don't ever think to your mind that people don't notice shit. People fucking notice shit. Okay? People fucking notice a lot of shit. Anyhow, here's the deal. So I was talking to Anna, the the one that she's like getting everything in order for us to go to Montenegro. And she's such a doll. She's an amazing girl, honestly. She's like she's just amazing. So we've already discussed, because I'm not going to make it to Bali because I'm going to Jordan. She's like, will you make it back before January, because we're taking a trip to Greece in January. And I'm like, I'm still going to be in Jordan. But the good news is there's going to be another trip to Greece, and we're going to go on so many boat cruises, and I'm so excited, in June. And I'm like, honey, I'm not going to stay in Jordan in June. In May, I was almost fried of the heat. So yeah, we're going to Greece in June. So I'll be going to Greece in June 2024. And then I believe August or September 2024, we're going to do Portugal. And I think that's pretty much it. So, whether I decide to pull another move for, October, November, December 2024 back to Jordan, we'll see about that based off my trip this year to Jordan, or excuse me, when I go back to Jordan. But the first 3 months that I'm there, I'm going to be on it with looking for apartments in the local area. You know what I'm saying? And just seeing what flows and what happens and what unfolds. But realistically and logically, even if I did magically find an apartment and I found an affordable one, I wouldn't be able to sell my apartment in Gumri until like 2025.